Hi, and thank you for watching or listening on Spotify, TargetedWest.com. My name is DJ Chris, and I'm your host tonight. The opinions of the guests are theirs and not that of TargetedWest.com or DJ Chris. And we're a peaceful work group. We're not violent or spew violence. And that's about it. This is show number 784. It's the 29th of October, 2023, and we're interviewing Shiloh Taylor tonight, who will be talking about the FISA 702 Act, and it expires on the 31st of December, and even Biden's asked for some reform. So we're going to talk about that and the current status of the Congress. So without further ado, hello, Shiloh Taylor. Come on in.
Hello, everyone.
So welcome to the call. This is your fourth visit to our call. Your other calls have become very popular. You were asked for by many people. So backed by popular demand, we have Shiloh Taylor. So what's going on with this 702? Do you think they're going to expire it?
First, I just want to say I'm honored to be here, and I really appreciate you, Chris, for everything that you do. Your programs are great, and your information is great. So now that I've given you a big well-deserved pat on the back, I'll answer your question. So obviously, Section 702 of FISA is what we're referring to, in case anyone missed out on the very beginning of this. I believe most TIs are aware at this point that it's up for renewal again at the end of the year. Since the beginning of the year, they've had talks and different committees on what they need to do to change this. It's not acceptable to a lot of members of Congress as it currently is. It was extended for 6 years back in 2018. I just wanted to remind everyone of that back in 2018. At the time Trump was president, he did put out a tweet in favor of this. Oh, this is not the 702 that we're talking about. This is the good, just whatever, his usual bullshit things. So he did get on board with this. He was not on board with it when when the executive branch, Obama, asked for it to be renewed. He said it was, not. They messed with his campaign. And so anyway, then he came back and said, oh, go ahead, let's do this. And so they made it a little bit worse. I'm not sure if people realized back from 2018, this is sort of where I believe a lot of us sort of got caught up in this, where obviously Snowden had put in where they can just have the ability to just query anybody's digital information online, any password you put in there, just the ability that they have. And so if, for instance, you were talking about ISIS with someone on email and you were just stating facts of ISIS, not on either side, not any sort of terrorist thing, merely discussing the existence of ISIS, anything about them, you got trapped in this Section 702 where they just have the ability without warrant to go into anyone's email, anything at all, and what did they call it? They called it abouts. Like the tweets, not tweets, digital conversations that are about certain subjects automatically was putting you the ability for them to query you. So then this comes in where people sort of like, oh, well, they just put me on this FISA thing. It's the same back and forth battle between the same way they do it with DAs and it's the same system where they go and they say, we have probable cause. What's your probable cause? Well, they talked about ISIS. So now they've made it easier since 2018 to just speak about ISIS and then get yourself listed. And so these are the things that not only did they strengthened it in 2018. So we have to go backwards, and we need to go backwards twice I'm not sure what the solution is, because obviously we know there are some people who are not good. There are truly terrorists in this world. How do we keep this small percentage of terrorists, where the FBI can find them and prosecute them and do these things that they're supposed to be doing instead of innocent people? It's supposed to be due process. So our due process obviously is the biggest problem here. And then, of course, the back door to the Fourth Amendment, which Section 702 is supposed to be for foreign individuals, But if the FBI considers you an individual terrorist, which that's what we are all deemed, they put you on this, Section 3 and 4 of the terrorist watch list, and they back and forth you with these warrants. So the solution that was come up with by Justin Amash and another Zoe Lofgren is just get a warrant. Like, you got your probable cause, okay, we want to see it, you get a warrant. Like, there's no reason that these FISA courts should be dealing with somebody talking about ISIS in an email to be automatically put on the list, and then they just are allowed to query it for any reason. Somebody calls in a tip, and we all know this. We were all targeted or put on by a tip. They call in and say, so-and-so's a terrorist. And they're allowed to query and do these things and look into your conversations because somebody called in and said you were a terrorist. And so obviously, most people can see that this is a problem at this point. The problem is in 2018, they strengthened it. So we also have to de-strengthen this. Not only does it need to be renewed, it has to be reformed. And right now, it is the most important thing besides getting us a targeted individual select committee. 702 is going on right now. They've made a clown show with the getting rid of McCarthy. I mean, that was just they're doing these things. This is where my biggest thing is I wish people just take a step back and look at take all of your political inclinations out of it and look at what the propaganda they are using right now to renew Section 702, which is the border crisis. Now, take away all your political feelings about that, your feelings about immigration, your feelings about criminals crossing the border. They are using that and trying to place everything, like every single person that crosses the border and asks for asylum is a criminal, and we need 702 to get these criminals that are crossing the border. And yet they've manufactured this crisis. They've done things in Central and South America to purposely create sanctions and different things that make these people come here. The reason why they're sending their young men is because that's the one who comes over here and works. They don't send their women and children. They either come as a family or they send their men over here to work and send money home. It's kind of the standard. And so anyway, the propaganda, if you look at the border crisis, this is what they're using right now. Then they did take your eyes off the shiny ball, which is more war and more targeted people, and how can we get people back in the mode of terrorist watching? We need everyone watching for terrorists and calling, like someone just mentioned, call on your neighbors, call on these other people because they're a terrorist. And we are going down the path of the way the Nazis were able to take over. It really is following history, unfortunately, in the same cycle that we're telling on each other. Our neighbors are calling on us.
I agree, and they're also using China and Russia as an excuse to extend FISA 702.
Absolutely. So they're using Russia and China as the scary guys, and yet we're pumping in all this money to the Israel-Palestinian, whatever the latest war crimes committed by Israel in the name of biblical contracts, misinterpreted thousands of years later. It's frustrating to me from a propaganda end, just working for the House for as long as I did, to realize how much the bullshit is propaganda. It's a bipartisan effort to get 702 renewed. And they're creating all of these things so that nobody will look at the shiny renewal of Section 702. They're going to do it, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did it on midnight the 30th, because then they're all out of there.
I agree. I know they will.
Sorry, Christmas Eve, midnight on Christmas Eve.
Right.
We're all out of there after Christmas Eve till the beginning of the year. I'm a little worried they're going to sneak it in to, like a defense bill or something that is, they're already inclined, because most of the line items, this is how they sneak stuff in there. And so they pork it all up with their own little, money things. They tried to get in a defense bill, Josh Hawley was trying to get TikTok banned again because TikTok's the new place for TIs to go. I don't know if anybody's on TikTok as much as I am. I'm on it more than Twitter. There's a lot of stuff going on with TIs. Before, they used to just sort of shadow ban it, and now they can't control it. There's a billion hits for targeted individual on TikTok. There's a lot of stories coming out. There's a lot of people getting information out. That's why they want to ban TikTok. It's not about Chinese.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah. So of course it's the same thing as Twitter. There's a lot of fakes. I try not to get into the he's fake, she's fake, because I've been accused of a fake. Everyone's been accused of being a fake. I don't even care. But when they go in there and they make targeted individuals look like clowns, that's when I go, you're fake. Like, you're doing everything to to gas it up, to make it like it's just not real. And so but anyway, there are real stories, there are real TIs. I believe most people are. Who the hell wants to be a TI? Like, where did we come up? This is the place to be. Like, I know you guys are great and everything, but I think we all prefer that we weren't TIs.
Amen.
So I guess that's my concern with everyone right now. Just keep on it. Please keep writing your reps. I know it just doesn't seem like it's doing anything, but the strength is in the numbers, as we've all agreed that we all need to write. We have 535 reps to write to. Like, we have to do this together. We cannot do this like, I wrote my rep and they didn't answer, or they sent me a canned letter. Yep, that's how it goes. Write again. Please write again. Please write every week. Section 702, again, is really a big crutch that they are relying on. So this is the number one thing. If you can get on the phone with them for the next 3 months until I guess we're going on 2 months now, until they don't renew this, let them make a committee, let them do something. Do not renew this, because this is how they are keeping us on the list with no evidence. And for talking about ISIS.
Would you be interested in a reform?
I do think that when they say reform, I think they need to reform the entire FISA, the 70.
System, yeah, gotcha.
But when they say it's sort of like the immigration reform. Like, we're so far into this, like, what do they put a Band-Aid on immigration, and then they cry about all the problems with immigration? Well, we were being invaded. No, we're not. They're all claiming asylum. That's a legal entry. You can argue with it or what you want. You have to fix immigration if you want to fix that issue. Otherwise, it's a legal entry. It's not an invasion. And the court can come in and say, okay, we don't grant you asylum. Like, that happens a lot. People don't realize you have to, the immigration is a court system. Like, you go through, I was married to an Egyptian man, and so I can tell you exactly how immigration works, and it was one of my issues at the house. So again, I just don't want all of this anger and everything, that a lot of people have a lot of political anger towards immigrants and just different things that are not the problem. It's manufactured. If you take a look at the videos that are coming out from real tweets, real Twitter, like people that are on the ground, that's not the story. And the same thing goes with the Israel war. If you follow any of the Palestinian stuff, they are just painting this up. You can't even say anything or you're anti-Semitic. You can't, it's just gotten out of control, and we are funding that. That's why the Muslim world is angry at the United States, is because we're funding that. We're funding this war. We're funding exactly what the Nazis did to the Jews in World War II. We are now funding the Jews to do that, it's not Jews, it's Israel. Sorry, it's not the same thing. It's not about religion. It's about a state. Israel is a state. They're committing war crimes. They have been for many, many years. I've tried to remain quiet about this particular issue because I have been to Egypt. I've been close to Israel. I didn't, my ex-husband didn't think we could go back from Israel, so if I wanted to go, and he said, I don't think I will come back if we go. So this has been going on obviously since the 40s, so I long ago had enough of the hatred towards the Muslims. I really did. And now it's spreading because of the Patriot Act to the Christians, to the Catholics, and to other people. And now it's become this big thing that it's become about religion again. And it's not necessarily about religion. It's not about religion. It is about who they can deem as a terrorist and who they can put on this list.
Yeah, which includes the MAGA people, and I'm not a MAGA, but I support them. Exactly.
For me, once this started turning against individual people, this wasn't just like the group of the RN.
It's like half of the country voted for Trump, and they're MAGAs, and you're going to go after half the. They said that 60% of the FBI's workload is going after MAGAs.
It's now the new thing is right-winger MAGA. Even for me, obviously I came from the left or from the Democrats. I still hold those policy views. in many instances. I also am very middle of the road, so I'm not super, but still, it's. I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but it's not necessarily political. It's just who the new group is that they can deem as a terrorist. And now it's the right-wingers, and they've had these, Homeland Security put out a report many, many years ago. I always held on to this because they when Newt Gingrich was in there, they hit it. Like, it was hard. They scrubbed it from the internet. They were mad that the Department of Homeland Security had come out and said that we have a problem with we are going to have homegrown terrorism going on here, and they wrote up this big report. It's been like 10 years. It's been a long time. And I read it, and I was like, okay, this is true, because there was all these people coming back from war and these veterans, and it's just sort of a mix of like, we're going to get some homegrown terrorism, which wasn't untrue. What they've done is take that report now, January 6th, the Trump supporters, and just turned them into the new Muslims. Like, now and to me, once I saw it, like, I'm not necessarily for Trump's policies. I don't like anything about the man. I'm not a fan. This is where my opinion comes in. I'm not a fan of him. But when they started to come after the people individually, that's where I drew the line. I said, this is not about this individual person. Like, I know some people that were there on January 6th. They didn't do anything. They didn't walk into the Capitol. They didn't do anything wrong. They have a right to protest.
And they're going by geocaching and information from the cell phones.
Yep, they took everyone's cell phone that was in D.C. at the time, and they investigated them. And I imagine that everyone that they investigated and found to be in the area is targeted, which, again, I do know like a couple people personally and related to people that were there to protest. And unfortunately, their right to protest got superseded, whether you believe it or not, that they were put in, they were lured in there, or they went in there. We saw their bad behavior on film, but that was not the entirety of the people that were there on January 6th. That's not the people outside. That was a small select group of people that went in, and whether they let them in or not doesn't matter to me. They acted up. They acted up in a way that was on video. We saw it. I do think they're coming down very hard on the people that didn't actually participate in that, they didn't do anything. They never set foot in the Capitol. There's a couple people that are being prosecuted for that. I mean, we can see that this is not, it's political, and it's not about necessarily justice. And again, I'm not on the side of January 6th. I don't, like I said, I have people, friends, and family that were there that did not, you didn't have to participate in that way to use your rights. But yeah, it is, the new thing is the new, the new terrorist is MAGA people. And it's unfortunate that it has to come to that, because it is 50% of the the United States. We're split 50-50 right now at this point between that guy and whoever else the Democrats put up.
Yeah, you like family, God, and country, and you're screwed.
Exactly. And so, but it wasn't like that before. It was exclusive to Muslims.
Right.
That was their way. And so I do think some of the Israeli-Palestinian, like, there's lots of stuff that's come out as propaganda already, the babies being killed and all that. That was a lie. They're doing that to get people to get back on the, Muslims are terrorists thing. They want to take off the slack of, like, it's the MAGA people, because the MAGA people now realize that they're targeted, and everyone else is realizing that the MAGA people are targeted. And then when you actually, like, take a step back and you realize, like, I know a lot of MAGA people, whether I like that guy or not. I still know a lot of people who like him and who don't like him but voted for him anyway. And so I just don't care anymore about, like, the Donald Trump thing. Like, I want to talk to people about a person. Like, it's not about politics. Like, understand at this point, you're just the new terrorist. And so it has to stop, because it's going to be that poem that came out about the Nazis. First they came for them, then they came for them, and I said nothing, and they came again for the next one, and then I said nothing. They don't have any more to come after. Everyone else is a right-winger, even myself. They've got Russell.
And they came for me, and no one said anything.
Exactly. And so we're, unfortunately, as we all know, history is repeating itself. We do have a clown show going on. I did want to talk a little bit about Mike Johnson, the new speaker.
Yeah, what's up with him? I heard he's election denier and all sorts of crazy stuff. What's up? What's his story?
I believe that they intended on trying to put Trump in place of the speaker, and because the GOP had already ruled that you cannot be indicted and be able to be the speaker, and so I think their plans were foiled by their own rules, and so they put up. Here is his issues that I find to be a little disturbing. Exactly what you said. He, after them trying to put Trump in the position and realizing that wasn't going to work, that he doesn't have the votes, and then it's against their rules. He's anti-gay. He is the least experienced speaker in 140 years. He's highly religious. He's a lawyer for conservative causes. These aren't necessarily like super bad, but this is about him. He opposes legalization of cannabis, so that's a no for me already.
Oh boy, that's a no. That's no good.
Exactly. And then he's considered. His name was a social issues warrior, so he is very apt to focus on conservative issues, which are anti-Muslim, and he supported the Muslim ban with Trump. He's a climate change skeptic, so that means he's received the most money most of his campaign cash from oil and gas. I think we all agree that climate change is here. What started it, how we can fix it, that's all up. The agendas, those are up for argument, but I don't think climate change, it used to not be an argument. It exists. Whether people like it or not is because of oil and gas. How we fix it, what our agenda is, who has to suffer from it, that's all up for debate, but we used to not argue about climate change. But he isn't just...
Some of it's geoengineering too, of course. It's destroyed the atmosphere, which is intentional. Exactly. I think they want us to have a collapse.
The weather manipulation, like these tools have existed. I remember hearing about this, and I'm a Gen X, so I'm not young, but I remember them talking about them being able to manipulate the weather. I mean, I was in 4th or 5th grade because I remember what school I was in. And and then the crop, they run those crop airplanes and they seed clouds. And like, this was old technology. This is nothing new.
Yeah, I read a book about it that goes back 200-300 years. They'd have these cauldrons of chemicals they bring in, and they get an expert to come in to save the crops. And if it didn't work out, they'd run him out of town. But if it worked, he was a hero.
It's the same thing. It's all, again, the agenda is the problem. It's not that the climate is changing. And you can argue, like I said, whether it's coming from, that's just the natural way of the earth. Yes, we've been through different ice ages. Again, that's not up for debate. Our climate is changing. Causes and how to fix it are two different other things. But to completely deny that it's happening is not, to me, that's just being ignorant. He does have, he is an inner circle of Trump. The good thing about him is that he does not have a lot of enemies. He has stood up to Trump before for what was it? It was a long time ago. He's now in his inner circle. He is friends with Amy Coney Barrett since 1998. He voted against certifying the election. So he is an election denier. Here is one thing that I do appreciate. He is for term limits. He's young. He's only 51. And he doesn't have a lot of enemies. But he's very conservative for the issues to me that make no difference. It doesn't matter if somebody is gay. It doesn't matter if these ultra conservative social issues, they just don't matter. We need someone, which again, they're going to have to put someone up who's conservative. I mean, that's the way that our system works. He does have a couple things. I do like the term limits and that he is young. That is going for him. I am a little worried that he is just a Trump clone. I mean, I don't know where this is going. I don't have any predictions on whether Trump will go to jail, other than I don't think anyone who's been the president will go to jail. I do think that he is part of the club. I do think that he comes out like, oh, I'm your savior. I'm the guy that's gonna, fix this. Even though I use all this stuff, I'm gonna fix this. Because they came after my campaign, and he's just full of shit. But either way, I mean, the president is not that. That's why the thing, you can hate all of them. I actually don't have anything nice to say about any president back to Jimmy Carter. So don't ask me about the president, because I don't like any of them.
Yeah, I don't either. I can't name one I do like.
No, I don't. They've all committed war crimes. They've all done awful things, and it's not the president. The United States will run without the president in the position. All of these things it's about the executive branch overreach. There's been some other things that have been going on in state. This is not just a federal program. Obviously, the fusion centers are another issue that something came across my desk in the past couple of days about really legally working on separating the fusion centers and from the federal money and getting that back into the states and sort of taking back the fusion centers away from the Department of Homeland Security, which I think most of us are on board with. That's how they gather their information and gang stalk, etc. I do think that we need to continue to fight these things that are coming through, because to me, I'm one that I want to get rid of both political parties. I want to get rid of the Electoral College. That is my solution to this problem, to get rid of all the problems that we have, the Mitch McConnells, because basically your vote doesn't count at this point. And I'm not one that I don't want to be discouraging of voting, because it is our only thing that we have left. But as it stands with the blue and the red states and the Electoral College, your vote doesn't count. And so, except for in local elections. And so I would like to get rid of the entire, blue and red state thing. Get rid of that, go to the popular vote, get rid of these dinosaurs that are in there that are they're not even functioning. They're not functioning. We've seen Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, you make it purple. I want a purple country.
Yes, I do too. And that we are purple. We are purple, and we're being run by the extremists on both sides. And people,
exactly.
When you sit in the middle, and I can see both sides of almost every issue. I literally can see both sides. But the fact of the matter is we need common sense in there. And common sense is not taking health, from women. Common sense is not taking marriage from anyone. Common sense is not telling people what they can do with their bodies, either side. Abortion and the vaccine are both my body, my choice. I don't care what either side says on that. Both of them are a choice, and they should be. And both need to keep your nose out of the other's business. It's nobody's business. And these are health, things that don't need to be they don't need to be legislated. They don't need to be telling people certain things about, focus on the good things. So I am a little bit worried about this Mike Johnson, although I think he's going to be kind of benign. I just don't see him being strong. I don't know and I don't see anything. I don't see them moving forward and getting anything done. I'm just not in and maybe I shouldn't be talking if I don't have a positive attitude, but I don't.
That's okay. Aren't you allowed your opinion? That's what this call's about. Let it go, honey. Let it go.
It is, and we're in election year next. And the ability of these weapons to do what they do already with the content that people see, you can see clearly we do not all have the same timelines for social media, for news, for different, which of course is part of the game. I don't want to see certain things. If I never see Kanye West speak again, I would be happy with that. So I don't want to see that dude. I don't want to see anything about him. So I understand, some of it's tailored towards the things that you like or dislike. However, there are, the whole name of this game is to, part of the brainwashing people, they're in my brain, they're doing it, no, it's mostly on things that you have to focus on. It's on your timeline, on your social medias, on your data. If they think you can, they'll start pumping you in with a bunch of Israeli propaganda. Or if they think that you are someone that is on the conservative side, they're going to pump you with, we're being invaded by, military-age men. You're going to have that's going to be nonstop. So I guess that's a little of my concern for the election year, because they've been doing this since 2016, which I was told by an insider of the Democratic, the big shots, that they had, basically paid for Google and all these different things. And that's old news at this point. election year's coming up. They are going to be able to really give the people who are, MAGA people, they're going to really be showing them a lot of like poor Trump and like he's just like really, they're going to focus on Trump and he's a victim, and like then the other people who don't want to see Trump, they're going to really focus on, Biden is really just doing a great job. And it's just, I'm not excited about the propaganda that's going to come out, because that's what I personally, because I worked with it and saw how they set the stage behind people and they do different things and they use verbiage on purpose so that your brain, like you said, it's natural human behavior. With some of these things we can't control, like the meme that says, you will read this first, you will read this second, you will read this one, you will read this one last. And you go, what? And you did. You read them in order that your brain saw the little things that go. Like some of this we can't control. And they know that. And so it's just, I don't know. I'm always the positive person. So I'm always like, oh, well, we'll work out. It's always going to, and it always does. I do believe that. I have faith. But I am very worried about this election year. If both parties nominate geriatric on the glitch, both of them are on the glitch, why are we allowing old club members to run our show anymore? How do we get some of these younger people, or how do we get some of these people in the room to run for office, or to do some of these things where you can make the change, be it the school board or, and I think we're coming out. I'm not trying to say somebody's not doing something. It's just, how do we get this out to everyone to get off the political, yes, it runs it. We have to pay attention to what's going on to politics, but get out of the like red, blue, ram heads. We need policies that work for everyone, not just for one side who's paying the other side.
Yeah.
And so the real solution, I don't know. I mean, personally, I'm going to start working on my my remote workers association that I had before I became homeless. The program put me into homelessness and no way to get out of that, but I managed. And
congratulations on that.
Thank you. I realize now that I did it in, I was only homeless for 6 months, so that's not long. And so now that I'm back where I can get on a computer and can concentrate and do some things, I want to work on this other program, other idea that I had, and sort of to put together a platform to allow people to talk about politics in a way that promotes debate. It promotes people to see the issues that are going on systemically. It's not a political issue when we're talking about systemic overreach of the executive branch. This affects everyone. We all need to know about this. That includes MAGA people, that includes purple people, and the liberals, or whatever the other side is called at this point. We all need to get together because these are not benefiting us, and we all know this. It's not like I'm not preaching to the choir. It's just, how do we fix the system? We have to throw a monkey wrench into the system to get new people, to get these things. And again, my personal, just being an operations type of person and working for the government, I do believe that within the United States, and to get to the military-industrial complex, we have to remove everyone who is in Congress right now and replace them with someone else. There's not anybody I like isn't in my district anyway, but there's very few of them that are not paid for their policies in campaign contributions.
Amazing. We're talking to Shiloh Taylor. You're listening to TargetedWest.com, and this is our work group. Shiloh Taylor is a long-term congressional staffer and entertainer, and she's with us tonight. So, Shiloh, I'm glad to hear that you've got a place now. You were going to work on some topics that could help the community, and I'm very happy to hear that you'll be back on the track to do that.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking to get that going. It is a big ordeal. I was trying to raise money for it. It's a nonprofit. I would like to put together a platform that people can get and discuss these things. And and get back to the days to where, I mean, some of us older people, Gen X or older, I don't know about millennials if they remember this, before the 90s, when it was illegal to put a political bias on your media. Chris, you have to know about this because you're a media person. Do you remember when you had to give both sides of it, and it couldn't be a political opinion. You couldn't hide political opinion behind fact.
Correct, yeah.
And then in the 90s, the Telecommunications Act, in the last lame duck session of Clinton, they basically rolled back all of the FCC regulations, which require people to, entertainment groups like Fox Entertainment can't be called news. There's just some different, and then they put it as Fox News, and Fox News became this, inflammatory, and not saying CNN and the others didn't follow, they did. But it became an inflammatory propaganda tool as opposed to media. Like, most media or old style media journalists respect both sides. You might agree with one side, but the people need to know both sides so they can make their own decision.
Yeah, and there's no middle side. There's always either one or the other. There's never a middle side. Maybe Ron Paul, but, that's about it.
And the thing is it's an illusion that there is not a middle, when I would say, really 80% of us are the middle. It's
exactly
on the end that are creating these issues, and really at this point, I mean, we're just so overrun with the military-industrial complex. I mean, does anyone? I guess I have a question for the audience. What are the suggestions? What can we do to get to the military-industrial complex and stop this? How do we get the executive branch to stop overreaching?
That's a good question. We'll be open mic in just a couple minutes to get them to ask you that question.
Okay, we'll leave that on for just cook that up and think about that. And again, I'm going to ask everyone, please write your representatives for Section 7, FISA Section 702, do not renew. And then also, if you check my website, I still have up the information about a letter for demanding a committee for the TIs. This committee that they've got going on, which I've mentioned this before, is just about Trump. It's, things happen for a reason. Trump, all of this stuff going on with him has just opened so many people's eyes to the fact that the FBI, when they target you, they target you. They don't care if you're the president. And
yeah, that's true. And your website is shilohtaylor.com, by the way.
Yes, thank you. And so, but again, 702, we have to make sure that does not get renewed. There's a lot of people that are on to this 702. Like, most people know this. EFF.com has a standard letter that you can just it really works well because you punch in your address. They hooked up the congress.gov to there. You can find out who, and then they have a standard letter. You can just quickly email them through EFF.com. Or maybe it's org. I'm sorry. I'm hoping I'm not doing them some damage here. But EFF.org or .com, and they are the Electronic Fund Foundation. They are awesome. But they've got something up right now that just makes it super easy. I'm not techie enough to create that. I'm working on it. But otherwise, pull up your reps. If you know your reps, please write to them. Write to them, number one, about Section 702, do not renew, and then demand a joint select committee investigating the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the armed forces. All of these need to be investigated.
Very good. Let's go ahead and switch to Q&A mode now, because according to my book, we're right on schedule.
Perfect.
So let's go ahead and get some questions from the audience. We're going to switch. Everybody's muted, and if you have a question, including you, Shiloh, you'll have to unmute yourself after I put it in mute mode, and everybody's muted. You unmute *6 to talk and ask Shiloh Taylor a question. Here we go. Okay, it's question and answer time for Shiloh Taylor. Does anyone have a question?
I just wanted to real quick, I noticed Tranquility put in the chat the link to that EFF.org 702. Please check the chat.
Very cool. Thank you. Question for Shiloh.
Shiloh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Shiloh. Okay. Hi, I'm Tony out of Arizona, and I read a book along those lines that you just finished speaking about how things are collapsing. Civilians don't have faith in our institutions anymore, like Congress and the Supreme Court, and everything is being bought by K Street. And the thing is that everybody's lost faith in all of our federal institutions, except for the military. Civilians love the military, and I think it's just a shame if it is the military that's doing it, that they're going to lose their last. They're going to lose the support that we have for any of our federal institutions. Do you agree with that? Most civilians trust the military, and that everything is collapsing. Congress is not working, and civilians trust the military more than anything else. What's your view on that?
I do agree that we've lost. It's gone. We do not have any trust in any of the institutions, CDC, Congress, none of them. I do believe that the military is on the fall at this point. Their recruitment numbers are so low. Most of the Gen Zers are not going to join the military. I do think conservatives, as a general sort of, are pro-police and pro-military and so I see that more as like a standard of the conservatives than it is of the liberals. Now have just become warmongers. It's not even about the military, it's about the money. And so one side, really wants to be patriotic and patriots, and then, and so I do agree with you that is the last piece, but it's definitely wavering because people have had it with, and it's not necessarily the soldiers. I don't think that people want to be hard on our soldiers. We need them. It's the military contractors that are really causing the problems.
Thank you for your question, Anthony. Next question in line, please.
I don't know
My
if I'm
question
in line.
Come on.
Go ahead.
Me?
It's the paid lobby. That's our biggest problem. That started in the early 90s. That's when we shipped all our jobs over to China, and that's when all the telecommunication companies got bought out by Ted Turner and a few others. Telecommunication companies, I forgot, is owned by like 3 or 4 corporations, and that's it. But that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you for that. Our next comment, please, for
line?
Sheriff.
Chris, am I in line or what?
I hear you. Come on in.
Okay, thank you. So I want to give out a phone number again for, I've given it out on some of the other calls, for Senator Ron Johnson, who has dealt with the Havana syndrome, and his phone number is 202-224-5323, and that's 202-224-5323. So I've been doing, in addition to that, other names that have come up with his have been Senator Jean Shaheen and Marco Rubio, who is with the Senate Intelligence Committee, and that's so Senator Ron Johnson. And the other thing that I've been doing, which I'm not going to go into here since you're interviewing, is doing research on clean comedians so that children can watch it too. When people need a laugh, So I've recommended different comics on other calls, including John Crist, Crist, Jim Gaffigan, as you know, I've mentioned him before, and Brian Regan, Regan, And there are other ones. I just did a little bit of a search on Rowan Atkinson, who has played many different roles, including Johnny English and some other ones. But okay, and I've done research on kindness for a couple of years, so that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Q.
And with regard to Miss Taylor, is that her name?
Correct.
Yeah, I feel that EFF is a wonderful law office. I've been into them for decades. So, and they work closely with the ACLU, which I don't agree with everything that they've done, but anyway, they do. EFF does wonderful work. Electronic Frontier Foundation in California.
Thank you very much. Next question in line, please.
Hey, Q, have you heard about
Anyone else?
Shiloh, sorry. Hi, Shiloh. This is Laura from Colorado, and I've been working with TIs here for a couple of years, since 2018. At least 10 of them have written their representatives for the last 20 years. I've been writing since 2018. Just like you, I can't get on board with any representatives here in Colorado. It's really frustrating. It's really frustrating, but we do keep a record of all the times that we've written, and I've kept a journal of, all the times that we've gone to the different representatives and tried to talk to them or given them information. They would look into it. Nothing ever happened. And it does get discouraging, right? You keep writing these guys, it's like, oh man, I'm over it. So thank you for the advice on 702, writing them about that specifically and saying, and just giving us the information, some new information that I can write to them about, that we can all write to them about. I appreciate you. Thanks.
Thank you, and I appreciate you as well, Laura. It's people like you that have been doing this for 20 years. We just need everyone to write one. We have 535 that need to get some letters. If we all just pummeled them with letters, that's really the best technique to get their attention on it. It's just, I think it's a bipartisan effort at this point to try to renew 702. So if you can, whoever was a Q that was mentioning the different people to write the Gang of Eight. If you are in there, that's Marco Rubio, there's Schumer, the people, the big shots, the speaker, but they are required to be briefed from the executive branch. They know what's going on. Whether they believe innocent people are targeted or not, they know what's going on. So yeah, if you can write those, anyone who has the time to.
Very cool. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, just again, and I preaching to the choir, but if you can write one more letter and just keep hounding them, and because it's for data. It's, data, first of all, writing 535, and if we can get, 10,000 people to do that, and the numbers are it's just going to come up in their conference calls. The rep will be aware that they received a large amount of letters about this particular issue. And so that's really kind of the method behind the madness on that. Again, thank you, Laura, and appreciate you and the rest of the letter writing help.
Thank you, everybody.
I'm listening to you guys and about writing letters and doing the things that you're saying. And I agree. One of the things that my question is if you have the evidence of let's say like a gang effort of 200 people that started with a person that was top secret with Lockheed, just throwing it out there. What do you do when you are targeted by the people that that are involved, and where do you go with that?
This is kind of a loaded question because there's some issues with, first of all, if you're a whistleblower and you call the whistleblower line, they have that. Those who do the targeting, the military and the rest of them already have that line bugged. They know everyone who calls in there. So I don't know. I'm wondering how.
So you just wait around till, of course, they're going to kill you now that you know what you know, and they know you know, then you just wait around, because and thank God, I guess I did this, but I actually went to a congressman's office and told them what I was experiencing and what has been happening. And it just came to my attention that in the last 8 months that I was part of at least a 25-year plan. And it was done by half siblings who actually have, that pull. And all the rabbit holes led to them. And but I didn't really say anything like that. I was just telling them what was going on and what I had discovered, like murder and explosive devices and stuff like that. And the lady his assistant was very helpful. She was very nice, and she was in agreement with she actually believed me, and she's the one that actually confirmed my suspicions that she told me that my family was the one blocking me from all the agencies.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that staffers, that not necessarily that staffers are all aware of it, because they're not. It's not like most people. This is going to be new to most people, or if they've heard about it, they've just gone too far.
She actually said that she said I've experienced, I get a lot of calls like this.
Yes, it's gone too far, and so now it's not before where it was sort of like, is this a real issue? They have to have heard about it, but to have so many people calling and writing about the due process, it's just, to me, I don't have another solution, just because we only have a few things that we can do. We can, all go out and burn everything down and do a French Revolution, but there's not, most people are not on board for that. It's not going to happen. We can, write.
Well, I don't want to do that. I just don't want to die.
We're in the middle of an interview. Thank you for your questions. We have to ask anybody else if they've got any questions for Shiloh before we end this interview for tonight. Okay. Thank you, Shiloh. That was a great interview. Thank you for your help in the matter of getting the word out.
And thank you. Sorry for mentioning I didn't mean that we were going to be doing that. We only have a couple options. Sorry.
No worries.
I think we're all monitored. I'm sure they're all listening to every word I say. So just.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just looking for some leeway, or where can you go? I mean.
And I agree. I'm not sure. My solutions are just to do with, what my experience has been with Congress and with, the history is just, we don't have any other choices. We can vote. We can write letters to Congress. We can get rid of the Congress people that we don't like, that aren't, helping. We need people in there who are going to get rid of these things that are a problem, and including Citizens United. The thing with Citizens United is I think that we needed to use it as a David and Goliath. The only way that you can use the big money and to get into playing that game is to use the PACs, which is what all Citizens United is about, raising millions and millions of dollars to put people in or out of office. That's basically what PACs do. And so that needs to be removed, but to be able to get it removed, we need to use it against itself, like judo. And so raise a PAC, get a TI PAC together. This is sort of I'm out there with this one, but get a TI PAC. We all donate $5 and we go in and we do the same things they do. Get rid of the people that are a part of this. Primary them.
Are there any groups that are out there right now that are actually being an advocate for actual people that can prove that they're TI?
I mean, there's Targeted Justice, which I think is doing a good job. They've got their judicial branch. That's what they're kind of focusing on right at the moment, a little bit of the congressional writing. There's not a lot of groups. I think most of, for a lot of us, I mean, I've known about targeting for many, many years. I just didn't want to believe that was going on with me. I didn't want to, and I fit the whole bill of who would be targeted, government employee, married to a Muslim man, been out of the country, these different things that I've done in my lifetime. I guess I can see why I would have maybe been, and then they should go into my information and say, you know what, we don't need her on the list because obviously she's not doing anything. But that's, there's not a lot of groups there. I don't know of any political action committees that are dealing with targeting or weaponization of the government. I personally, that's what I'm working on that I mentioned a little bit earlier. Before I became homeless, I was trying to raise money to create this platform, a social media platform where people could speak openly about things and not be censored, which I realize is a lot of the government and Zuckerberg. But, and then also to bring it back to a debate and to also to, some of these states, and I'll just be honest, I've done the math on these. For example, to overthrow the election, the election system currently, the Electoral College, it only takes less than 5% of the vote. Like, it doesn't take a lot of people to do this, and so you don't have to, the name of the game from the political side is that you don't have to, do a Dr. Oz. You don't have to live in the district that you vote in. You have to have residency in there, and residency depends on different states, different localities, different things, so you can, vote in your old house, and they all did it this year, all the Republicans. This is a game that they play. They don't run for office or vote in the districts that they live in. They strategically place their vote where their vote is needed. And so if we do that, and we strategically place our vote where our vote is needed, for example, it would only take around 100,000 votes to swing the vote in Wyoming. And that's 2 senatorial seats and a House seat. I grew up in Wyoming, so I can tell you they're very, very red. They're very MAGA. It's not, but if you were to go in there with 70,000 voters, you could take over both of those senatorial and the House just because they don't have a big population. This is why the Electoral College is unfair. Wyoming voters have 4 times the voting power that every one of us in this room, especially California and Texas.
That's interesting. I just wanted to move forward on the call to the TI Book Club. The TI Book Club, this book we're reading this month is about PTSD, which I'm sure we suffer from the targeting, and it's called Time to Heal. It's from Cathy O'Brien. It's available on her website, which is trance-formation.com. You can buy the book, hard copy, I believe, is on Amazon, and you can buy the digital copy on her website. We're going to do a 10-minute video on a review of Transformation, her book, in just a few minutes. But thank you for watching and listening on Spotify or YouTube or BitChute or your favorite platform. This is DJ Chris. We have Shiloh Taylor tonight, and she came in to talk about how our government's working and not working, and we will have her back again. If you're watching me on your favorite platform, please click like, subscribe, and make a comment. We have 2 more minutes left, so come on in.
Hello?
Yes, I have a question. Hello?
The website again? Excuse me. The website you do?
It's transformation.com, TRANCE-formation.com.
Right.
Or you can type in Cathy O'Brien PTSD on any browser and it'll come right up.
Hello?
Cathy with a C or a K?
C, Cathy with a C, O-B-R-I-E-N. You can find her. She's the... Go ahead.
Quick little thing is that I forgot to mention that when I brought up Rowan Atkinson, the reason I brought him up is because he has a great YouTube on free speech, and that's it. Thank you.
Hello?
Thank you, Q, and we're just about ready to wrap up the recording, so one more question. Hello? Come on in. Hello.
Yes, hi, Shiloh. I was calling because I have a question about that 702, Section 702. Okay, if they rule against it, what would be the plan, if they still doing like the hacking and surveillance, and what do we do then?
I'm not sure. I mean, obviously that we have to move forward. If it's in existence at this point, It expires at the end of the year. If they don't renew it, it will just go into this expiration, and then they come in with a fix. It's not just Section 702 that has created the targeting program. There's a lot more other laws that need to be tweaked and fixed and repealed to actually get rid of all of the illegal surveillance that they're doing and all of the ways that they're.
Thank you for that. Just a moment. Let me end the recording. Thank you for watching this recording. We'll see you next week. And
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Let's get this. Why is this doing this? Oh, Lord. There we go.